What motivated you to start LTD?
I was in car sales. I started off in car sales, which is actually how I met your dad.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up doing pretty well in car sales, and so I did that for right around 6 years, but I was 4 years in, and then I realized that making money is not the way to actually become wealthy. And so I grew up super poor, and I was always told that once you make six figures, then all right, now that's like where real wealth is. That's how you become financially free. That's the way that, you know, that's like rich. And so I had a misconception about what rich was. And so that's what got me into real estate was a book that my business partner, Tony, actually had me read, which was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if anybody has not read that, I definitely recommend that they read that book because that's like a book that has made more millionaires than any other book, in my opinion, or at least from what I've heard from all these people. So that book talked about basically financial freedom in the sense of time. Time is money, and how much time you actually have to do things is more important than necessarily just the money you make. And I never saw it like that. I was just like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes in order to make the money that I want to make. But then if you don't have any time to actually use the money, then it doesn't really matter anyway. Also, it talks a lot about the money that you actually get to keep as opposed to the money that you gross, because there's a big difference in that. And when you're a W-2 and employee, you are going to gross a lot, but then your biggest expense, everybody thinks their biggest expense is their house. Your biggest expense is always taxes. And so whenever you start a business, you can get your time back. You can also then start to, with the tax code, start to change the amount of taxes that you're going to pay based on the assets that you buy. It's more of a strategy, whereas when you're a W-2, it just kind of is what it is. They take it out right up front. And so that was the biggest reason was financial freedom and then actually getting my time back.
All right, nice. So I guess starting out with LTD, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced?
Starting off, shoot, dude, that feels like a while ago now. It says 6 years ago, the biggest challenges we faced when we first started. I would say the biggest thing is certainty. When you don't know how something's going to go, you have to take your best guess, right? And so you have to get all the information that you possibly can, and you have to be willing to take a jump in, even though you have no idea how it's going to go. That's a very scary thing. But once you start to develop that skill set, dude, then sky's the limit because now you can take that into every other area of your life. And so that was, in my opinion, the biggest hump. Which the nice thing is, a lot of car sales kind of taught me about that anyway. We don't know how everything's going to go. I was 100% commission when I was in car sales. So I already had a taste of that. And so I already had some certainty of I will figure it out when I get in a situation. But that was the biggest hurdle was like buying rental properties, hearing all of this, like, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? And everybody's like telling you all these different things. You're like, shoot, dude, I don't know. I think I'll figure it out though. And just taking the information and making the best decision that you possibly can. But I would say that was the biggest hurdle that I felt, just being scared to jump in and make a decision and buy properties.
How important was marketing to grow LTD into what it is today?
That's where it all started. So marketing is one of the most important things. My business partner is actually the marketer. So shout out to Tony, but he's always loved marketing, and me and him were always so much opposite. So he's always like, dude, first thing we do, like our first meeting, he's just like, we need to get a Google number and we need to put out bandit signs that say we buy houses, because if we don't market, we're not going to get anything. I've always been the sales guy, and so I'm used to leads coming in. The dealership, I worked at the dealership, they already had ads that are bringing buyers to us. Whereas on this, we didn't have anything, and so like, it's literally the start and one of the most important aspects of everything. Because without marketing, dude, you're not going to have anybody to talk to. You could be the best salesperson in the world, but if you talk to one person, it doesn't matter. You have to talk to multiple people to actually be able to use your salesmanship. Without Tony doing the marketing, man, it would have been basically next to impossible for us to even be where we're at, and it's still continuing to elevate every month. We're looking at the marketing, seeing what's working, and we spend a lot of money on marketing because it's in my opinion one of the most important things of the business.
You may or may not know this, but can you think of a time where you had to adapt or change your strategies in order to keep on growing?
Oh my gosh. All the time, bro. We're in the middle of it right now. And so whenever properties are not selling on the market, we basically have to adopt strategies in order to get them to sell or switch the plan. So we're going from flipping properties, which means we close on them, we fix them up, to a novation, which is basically where it's kind of like a net listing, except for net listings are not allowed, so it's different paperwork and stuff. So basically, it's like we're listing a property on the market. We get the spread in between, but then we don't have to worry about the holding costs of paying the private money lender, raising the money, switching the utilities over to our name. It stays in the seller's name. Then we just fix the property up for them. And then once we sell it, that's when we make our spread. So that's what we're doing right now. It's a big, big, big pivot. That is real estate. That's literally the name of the game of business. That's going to happen all the time. You have to look at what's happening, look at the trajectory that you're on, and then make decisions and switch based on exactly what's happening and make the best decision you can with the information that you have. So that's why I said even earlier, the same skill set's there. We don't know what's going to happen. We still don't know. Nobody really knows. We just take the information and make the best decision we can and trust that whatever obstacle does come up, that we're going to be able to handle it at that time. And that skill set's been developed since we started the company.
This kind of piggybacks off the last question, but how do you keep your company competitive? Because real estate's fast changing, fast paced. There's a lot of companies out there that do the same thing as you.
So I would say one is going to be the marketing. The marketing is very important for people to know who we are. The second one is going to be the sales aspect of it, or the acquisitions itself. We need to give the customer a good experience, and so that way they go and tell people. And so the amount of reviews that we have more reviews than any other place in Fort Wayne, because we do what we say we're going to do, and so the integrity with our actual word is very important. But so marketing, and then the actual getting the reviews and giving the client a good experience, honestly, I think just creates a big, big buzz to where more people want to work with us. Also, the marketing also helps with other people who want to sell to us. So wholesalers, other people who do what we do will sell to us because they're like, all right, dude, we know that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And so just the amount of influence you have by keeping your word and people knowing who you are and your integrity makes a big difference on who people choose to do business with. And so whenever anybody's talking about us, hopefully they're like, we at least do what we say we're going to do. There's a lot of people that don't like us too, because like whenever you are doing a lot of business stuff, people get really pissed off about that, and it just is what it is. But most of the time they can at least say that, all right, these guys keep their word.
Through your time being an entrepreneur, what has the biggest lesson that you learned?
That's an interesting question. For me personally, it would be that when stuff gets so stressful, because dude, I continue to take on more and more and more and more and more. And when things get too stressful, what I do is I focus on a bigger picture. I kind of zoom out. I'm so focused on this, and so I need to zoom out and look at the actual big, big, big picture, which to me is like, all right, I'm going to die. And so at the end of the day, we're all going to die. This is not that big of a deal. I'm going to go home and be with Jesus. And so that for me has been the biggest lesson, to stop worrying so much about all of these little things and really just be like, let me do the absolute best I can with the gifts that I've been given, and also know that it's all going to be okay, and do the right thing as opposed to, I guess let me rephrase that, being the right person as opposed to doing the perfect thing. And so that's helped me to kind of let go, because a lot of times I just want to control everything and I want it to be perfect and I want it to be good and I want this stuff. Let me just do the best I can, like handle the situation the best that I can with the gifts that God given me, but also zoom out and know that, all right, at the end of the day, I'm going to die. So it's not that big of a deal. So that's been the biggest lesson I've learned.
In your opinion, what is the most important thing when building strong, long-lasting relationships with your clients?
With our clients?
Or clients, or people who you sell to, or just anyone in general?
Gosh, that's a lot too. I think it has to do with your demeanor, and then it also has to do with how you speak to people. I think people like to be held accountable too, but they want to be held accountable to what they said, not what you want for them. And so it's like, what I like to do is ask what they're trying to accomplish, and then tell them what we're trying to accomplish and find a win-win, and then continue to hold them accountable to that, because I think people really enjoy that and like that. So that's what I think has been important, and then just doing your side of whatever you're supposed to do and then asking them to do their side. That's built us a lot of great relationships. So that's what I would say.
How do you keep your marketing fresh and relevant as your company continues to grow?
So it's not necessarily just fresh or relevant, because that's more like, I would say, social media and stuff, but our actual marketing for buying properties is usually just like different things work at different times. Sometimes radio, TV, sometimes it's going to be the texting, cold calling, Google pay-per-click, it's going to be Facebook and Instagram. I think that's always just changing, depending on like what lead source is working the best. I don't think it's necessarily about the message needs to continue to change. I think that every message is going to hit a seller a different way. So we like to have different, hey, we got this, cash as is, or we have like the heartfelt stories of people we've helped.
What are your future plans for LTD?
Future plans for LTD. I'm still working on that right now. I'm actively working on that because I got so many ideas. And then we also have a lot of other businesses. So we just opened a wedding venue up off Coliseum, or it's about to be opened up. We bought that. We have a new spot on Inwood Drive. So we're actually moving from this location to there. We're gonna set that place up. It's gonna have like sauna, cold plunge, workout area. We're gonna have a friggin', it's gonna be sick. It's almost done. So that's coming up in the plans. I've talked to the guys about having a Florida branch because I go down to Florida in the wintertime. And so we're thinking maybe we go down there and do some deals and go back and forth. And so we'll have a branch of LTD down there. Eventually, we're probably hoping to go nationwide. At some point, we're going to see because we like to go to certain areas, learn the areas, and then expand. Because when you go to new areas, it's a big learning curve. So I can see that happening though, because we got a team of killers. So who knows how big, how far, how wide? That's going to be really dependent on what's next, because that's the other thing that I'm figuring out. I'm 30 years old now. I'm looking to like married kids, stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I want to just continue to grow this thing. But I think I can with the team as long as they're willing to take on more responsibility, and then as long as I delegate properly, I think that's the trajectory that we're on.
How do you see real estate changing? How do you see the market changing in the next few years? What steps are you planning on take to be ahead of the curve?
It's a good question. I think it's going to continue to go up. I think it's going to be interesting when the government steps in, starts regulating different things. I am the kind of person that likes to see what happens and then make my plan accordingly. And then you have an idea about what is coming before I make a plan. Because a lot of people just plan for the future and then they spend all of their brain power on something that could potentially happen. I would like to just, okay, whenever we know what's going to happen, that's when we come with a game plan, because I'm pretty resourceful and creative, and I know that I'll make a plan whenever it does happen. So that's usually what I do. And real estate, the cool thing about it too is it feels like it's a slow shift. It's not usually just like oh, this happened, and then like everything shifts really fast. Usually it takes some time. So whenever you hear about something, you probably got about somewhere between 30 and 60 days before anything actually changes. So you can make some decisions pretty dang quick. As long as you're willing to take action right away, you can make decisions that are going to help you before everything switches too fast.